Hello and welcome. We're going to be doing a format a little bit different from usual. I'm going to be doing like a little bit of a video blog. Right now, I'm going to be doing a project that is going to take up a bit more of my time and means that it's going to take away time for me editing. And I do want to get on to the next Aristeia battle report as soon as I can, but I really want to finish this painting project first. Now, just to give a little background on this particular project, I entered a competition online, a painting competition online, and I painted up this particular model from Defiance. I was really happy with how he turned out. I felt I really did a good technical job with the model. However, I only finished mid-table. Um, my technical score was actually quite high, and my general appeal of the model was quite high, but it was my base that the base that I had that really kind of ruined it for me. I got just an average score for the base because there was really nothing special going on, and I didn't have time to really make that base stand out and look good or special. So in a sense, just having a good technical style painting was not enough to really push me up in the tables at all. So I'm actually entering another competition, a painting competition, because I really want to improve my painting and I want to challenge myself to get better at painting. And so I'm entering this next one, but this time I'm going to be making a diorama. I got multiple models that I'm going to be using, and I'm creating like an old. I want to make this kind of. I want to make a spooky battlefield, post battlefield with lots of kind of dead bodies and body parts kind of sticking out, and just a little bit of mess and yuck everywhere, and a necromancer just raising dead bodies out of the ground. Um, uh, I can still use those technical skills that I used in the previous work, but hopefully what I'm going to be doing with this one is I'm going to be telling more of a story. And I'm challenging myself to do object source lighting in this piece as well. So I wanted to give a contrast. I want a very earthy, dark, muddy colors for everything on the battlefield, and the raised skeletons from the battlefield. I want them to be muddy greens and browns and just kind of darkish, yucky kind of colors. However, the necromancer, as he's using his magic, is creating almost like a mystical red fire, which is kind of more red to pink rather than red to orange and yellows, and then using that magic that he's creating as the object source lighting for the piece, so that it can draw the eye into certain areas and give strong contrasts, and you can kind of see how the object source lighting will create a mood and effect on the piece. So for me, this is quite a big challenge. I'm kind of trying to push my comfort zones out as much as possible with this, and try and make a good diorama. Um, the the difficulty for me is that I've always sucked at doing bases, and I've really sucked at doing scenery in general. So I really want to make this scene look good. I want it to look appealing. I want people to look at it and go, "Wow, that's cool." And I see so many that are really good. So I decided I was going to go and I'm going to buy some materials, and well, not materials as such. I was going to buy some paint that's going to help me with doing the basing in the scene. I originally wanted to get some Vallejo still water and water effects, so I could do almost like puddles of mud and things like that, or things pooling around here and there. However, the store that I buy all my stuff from, they didn't have any still water left, so I just kind of avoided the water stuff. So what I did get was some Vallejo earth mud mud textures. It's like a pot of like really thick, gritty paint that you just kind of slap on and when it dries, it kind of creates a nice earth texture. So I thought I'm going to use that. I'm going to use lots of corkboard to create levels on the field and make all those outcroppings kind of muddy, well, not muddy, kind of rocky, but with mud surfaces all over the top. Maybe trying to get in a little bit of moss and things into some of the crevices and stuff, so that you can kind of see stuff growing. That's kind of the idea in my head. And I can use a hot glue gun to try and create the magical effects. It was initial idea, and I can paint them up to create the source of the light for my object source lighting, and really work on the contrast. Now that also meant that I wanted to get some new paints, particularly for this piece. So I was looking at like a bunch of Vallejo sets that were in my store, and I came across these kind of the whatchamacallits, the Nocturna set of paints. And they have a bunch of Nocturna sets. I think it's 4 sets in total, but I decided to go with a couple of them. One of the things is all my skin colors are very warm. I always, when I'm doing kind of white skin or Caucasian skin, it's usually very warm colors that I paint with. And I always struggled trying to give a lot of variation. So, with that in mind, I went and got the Malefic Skin paint set. So it gives you a whole bunch of colors that you can play around with, very kind of cold skin tones. So it has stuff about doing cold skin tones with blues, cold skin tones with purples, and also kind of these almost kind of like a green skin tone as well. It's not overly green, it's just got those hints of green and blue and purple in them, to give this kind of otherworldly skin color or deathly skin color. So I thought that would be really good for the Necromancer. I am tending toward going to try and use the purple skin tone, I was thinking, for the Necromancer. But for the skeletons as well, I wanted to avoid that clean bone texture that you find on a lot of painted skeletons. And I wanted these skeletons to be kind of fresh from the ground, a little bit rancid and yucky. So I thought maybe going for that green skin tone applied to the bones might actually kind of give that a little bit. So I did a little experiment. I basically grabbed a bunch of old GW heads from some old sprues and things that I have, or from a bits box. I just stuck them in a bit of putty and had a go at painting them with the different Malefic skin tones. And I found the purple came out pretty well. The blue I just couldn't quite get right. That was probably mainly because of the guy's handlebar moustaches in the model, in the head that I use, and I should have perhaps used a head without any kind of facial hair, just for clarity and for practice. But the blue skin tones I could see, I just couldn't layer them on very well. But then I also did the green skin tones as well, and I really liked that because they kind of got this the brown in the shadows with a bit of a green for the base coat, but then highlighting up to these kind of pale skin colors. And I could imagine like dryads having this kind of skin tone and things like that, or kind of like a wood elf, where you have a very pallid wood elf. I really liked that skin tone, so I decided I was gonna do a test model as well. And so on the test model, I also tried to paint the skeleton with these colors as well. I just made sure I go a little bit paler with it because they're bones, and I was really pleased with the effects. So I think that bit I'm kind of really happy on. I wanted to try out the OSL as well, so I said I was going to use red. So I actually decided to pick up the Crimson Reds Nocturna paint set, and it's got a whole range of like cold reds and warm reds that are all in there, along with some really nice deep reds and purples, which are good for the shadows of things. And I used that to try and paint an example fire. How would I paint this fire if I was just using these reds, and mixed in a little bit of white as well to try and raise the temperature for the where it was blazing the most. I did a test where I did it as like almost a regular fire with yellows, oranges, and reds. And then I just did it with the reds. And eventually, I had to experiment a little bit, but eventually I was pretty pleased with how it actually looked. So then I used those same colors to then apply an OSL to the skeleton. And I'm happy to say that I came out with the best OSL I've done so far for a model. So I was really, really happy with how that looked. And the pink, the kind of almost the pinkish red on the model really contrasted a lot with a lot of the earthy browns and greens I had for the model. So I quite liked that. I made, so I also tried to make an example base to see how the diorama might look when it's finished. So I just got a bit of cork and I placed it all together. Then I basically I airbrushed it all black to get it nice and dark. And then I just got a big makeup brush and dry brushed it in greys and then a couple of other colors as well, just to kind of give it some interesting textures to the color of the base, just to make it look rocky and things like that. So that was down, and then once that was done, I then slapped on some of this mud texture all over the surface of the base, and then I put in also some put in a grass tuft, because I'm going to use some grass tufts as well with it. Just place that in there to see how it would look, and place the skeleton on there with the fire. Pretty pleased with how it was looking. Then once the earth texture was dry, the mud texture was dry, I tried to add a little bit of OSL to it. Didn't go too heavy with it. I would need to do more in the real thing, I think, if I had a fire like that on there. But I was really pleased with the test model that I did. So that is kind of the basis of where I am at the moment with this diorama. I've done the test model, so I've still got to, now what I've got to do is I've got to take another skeleton, I've got to paint it in a similar vein, but spend a little bit more time making it look a little bit better, make sure that the NMM on it is looking as good as I can get it with the time that I have. And then I've also got to paint up the necromancer. I've got to paint up the skeleton that is raising from the ground. Then I've got to make a larger base with all the different levels. Oh, and I've got his little helper as well that I've got to paint as well. Once they're all painted, I can then start like placing them around the scene and try and figure out exactly how I want to tell the story. And for the magic effects, I'm probably going to avoid actually having a full-on fire anywhere, a magical fire anywhere. And I've decided I want to have the magic almost forming in front of the necromancer's hands, and then spreading out, like snaking out, an energy snaking out into the skeleton that is raising out of the ground. And then painting that in this kind of red magic fire that I'm going to be painting it, and then that's going to affect all of the OSL that's in the scene. Hopefully kind of draw your eye into that central piece that's going on there, with bits of other things going on in the scene for you to look at, and kind of they also decorate the scene with like bits of body parts and maybe some scenery and stuff. I'm going to see what I can dig out my bits box and rearrange for that. But first, I want to get these models painted in their in a just get a good paint job on them without OSL for the time being. Then I got to figure out the scene. And then I got to figure out where the OSL is going to fall the most. I'm going to be extra careful with it. But yeah, that's basically where I am with this. I'm really kind of excited about this project, and I hope to do my best with it. And what I want to do is I'm going to be filming it all, but I'm just going to put it into these little blogs because I mean, to an extent, this is just a quick thing that I can edit. And I can just put some content out there. And if you enjoy watching the process of this, that's great. And I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, that's going to be all for this update. Hopefully next week I'll have more done and I can talk about where it's going and where my thought processes are with the continuation of this diorama. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching and listening. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.